And welcome to Hannity. Now tonight, the abusively biased mainstream media that got the election completely wrong, that is so out of touch with you, the American people, well, they're now attacking and they're trying to discredit President-elect Donald Trump's picks for very key White House posts. For example, now they're losing their minds trying to discredit Steve Bannon. Now let's keep in mind the mainstream media is now suffering what I call a massive credibility crisis. Guess what? They're the ones who wrote off, laughed at, mocked the idea of Donald Trump ever becoming president. So here's my advice to President-elect Donald Trump tonight. When it comes to the media, do not listen to those people that want you to fail. Ignore the haters. Now, these are some of the same people who, as WikiLeaks exposed, they were openly colluding with Hillary Rodham Clinton's campaign, which violates every ethical standard they are supposed to honor and uphold. We also found out that the mainstream media is really a tool of what I call the alt-radical left and what they use to advance their agenda. Now, they're just another cog in the wheel for this well-oiled Democratic machine, the Occupy movement, Black Lives Matter, all these other fringe groups. And the media was wrong at every turn about the election, every turn about this Trump movement, and about the policies that a Trump administration would put in place. Now, the media is trying to force President-elect Donald Trump. They want him immediately to move to the center. You've got to listen to us now. Okay, they wanted him to fail and lose. That now he's supposed to listen to you guys? Now, he's got to ignore these people. Now, the same goes for the Washington political establishment. Well, they're going to try and push Donald Trump hard in very different directions because they don't want the real change that Donald Trump's standing for. And Donald Trump, at this moment, I would say, if you'll listen to me, he's got to stick to his promises to you, the American people. Now, just like the media establishment, they said he'd never win and didn't support his campaign. The only thing I would say is this to President-elect Trump. Listen to the will of the American people, those people that went to the polls in record numbers. And it's simple. Just honor your campaign promises. Repeal and replace Obamacare, lower taxes, corporate rate 15%, repatriate multinational corporation profits at 10%. That'll bring trillions into the country. Build the wall you said you'd build. Appoint originalist justices to the Supreme Court. Fix inner cities like you promised, especially on education. Energy independence, to me, will create millions of jobs and the added bonus that we don't get the lifeblood of our economy from countries that hate us. And then, of course, there's drain the swamp, identifying what are our enemies, who they really are, using the term radical Islam, extreme vetting of refugees and immigrants. Stick to the promise. Education back to the states, that might actually help more American kids than any single thing you do. Negotiating free and fair trade. And remember, I say this election is about the forgotten men and women, out of work, in poverty, on food stamps, that can't buy a house, that have found that the rungs to the ladder are gone in terms of climbing out of their situation. And by the way, one quick thing about all these protesters. This is important tonight. You know, I look at all of these people, and they're crying, and they're protesting all around the country, and I think of my grandparents. They came to America, all four of them from Ireland, County Cork, County down, all four of them. They came here with the most $20 in their pocket. They worked for little money at a time where there was discrimination against Irish Catholics. There used to be signs in Boston and New York, Irish Catholic need not apply. But they came here. They weren't spoiled. They worked their 16, 18 hours a day and felt blessed that they lived in this country. My father grew up dirt poor in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn. My mother grew up in the South Bronx. She didn't have a whole lot of money either. And it was a big deal that they bought a house in Long Island on a 50 by 100 lot. I had three older sisters, one bathroom. That's basically living hell on earth. But they were proud of their accomplishments. They had built on the dream of their parents. And I stand on their shoulders today as my children now stand on mine. For all of you people whining and complaining, there's a school in New York that's offering pet therapy because the kids are so upset at the election results. Really? Pet therapy? Counseling? All of the... You people need to grow up. You need to go to work. One of the best things I did is wash dishes, cook, bus tables, wait tables, 10 bar, hang wallpaper, paint houses, frame houses, lay tile, and do real work. Maybe you people protesting, it's time to get a job. Joining us now with reaction, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. It's a true story. What do they need? Pet therapy?
That was a beautiful speech. And my grandfather came with $20 in his wallet, and I have the manifest.
So
and
do
he
I.
had exactly
So do
$20.
Yeah,
and I'm
same
thinking
here.
to myself, you come all the way from Italy, can't even speak the darn language.
Right.
And you have $20 in your wallet.
My grandparents spoke the language, but in a funny way.
Yeah, right.
From Ireland, right?
Yeah, in a way that got them no jobs.
Right. No. And I'm like, these spoiled brats on college campuses, these kids in elite New York schools, they're bringing in pets and counselors because they're so upset.
I have a hard time.
I can't conceive it.
I've been on a couple of planes. I went out to Los Angeles. I was in Washington, and I've talked to a few people that were anti-Trump, and they'll say, "I'm so worried about him." So I was sitting with one, and I said, "Well, what are you worried about?" We're just worried about him.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you worried about? So I didn't want to give him things to worry about. I wanted to say, "Well, you're worried about is he going to start a nuclear war?" He said, "I'm just kind of worried about it." I think I talked him off the ledge.
You got him off the ledge?
I got him. I'm not sure I made him into a Trump supporter.
I had a caller to my radio.
The guy's not going to commit suicide. I
had a caller to my radio show, and he said, "You helped get a racist elected." I said, "Okay, tell me one racist thing he's ever said."
Now that is the.
And I played Jeopardy music, and he couldn't answer.
If there was an unfair criticism of Trump, and there were many, but if there was the most unfair, that was the single most unfair criticism of him. Known the man for 28 years, there is a single prejudicial bone in his body. He evaluates people both from the point of view of work and friendship on the merits. Yeah.
You were probably his strongest, best, toughest advocate. Now you're being considered for important jobs. The one I hear most often is Secretary of State. Have you had any conversations with him?
I have. And they're between him and me.
You're not going to tell me?
No, I can't. I can't. I wouldn't. I'd be very honored to serve. Questions, there are always a lot of questions and a lot of issues and a lot of very good people. He's got a lot of good people around him. I think he's handled himself really well since the election, since the day he got elected. And I think that he's going to put together an extraordinary administration of really, really talented people.
Do you agree with me that for him to ignore the McConnells, they didn't win this election as much as he did? His agenda, I think, brought in Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania.
Maybe it's just having addressed the Reagan Foundation on Saturday night, where we had like an inaugural celebration. I was thinking what it would be like to address them if we had lost. It would have been a funeral. And I think you do what Ronald Reagan did in a very nice way. You put your flag in the ground. You laid out this is what. He's the president, they're the Congress. He's the leader of the party. He has to tell them, this is what we want, and I want you to get it for me. And they should work with him on it. And if we have to, at the edges, compromise certain things, we should be willing to talk a little. But the main program has got to happen. The main program has got to happen. What did Ronald Reagan say? Ronald Reagan said, I'm going to confront the Soviet Union. Well, God darn it, he confronted this. I'm going to cut taxes. And then he had to make a choice because he said he was going to reduce the deficit. And there was, I just saw a tape of it, and he said, I made that choice. The choice I made was strong national defense instead of the deficit, because I think that's more important for our future.
Let me ask you this. We go back, our friendship goes back a long ways when you were the mayor of the city, cleaning up the city, and you did a phenomenal job. I watched it up close and personal. If you become Secretary of State, some people say, well, he's the mayor of New York, but how many countries have you been to?
I don't think they realized. I left the country 4 times as mayor, so I was kind of like trip deprived.
Right.
So since I left mayor, this is a rough estimate, I've been in 80 countries, 150 different foreign trips.
Wow.
And a lot of it for different reasons, speeches, security consulting, where I helped bring down crime.
A lot of people saw your expertise.
So I brought down crime. Call the president of Colombia. He will tell you I reduced crime. My group did, not me, John Houvain and my entire group. We reduced crime in Cali by 42%.
Wow.
We reduced crime in Mexico City until the mayor of Mexico City got fired because he was doing too good a job. But that was 12 years ago.
Right.
So I've been all over the world.
I know you're very close friends in Israel.
Honorary knighthood.
Yeah, I heard about that.
From Great Britain.
Yeah.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has been my personal friend for 25 years. I never go to Israel without spending 2 hours with BB, and I feel I can call him that. And I know the world. I mean, I've been most of my last 15 years, I've been on an airplane.
But you know what I think the world would remember more than anything else? When you were given $10 million and you found out what the person had said about Israel, and you said, take your money back.
Also about the United States.
That was a big moment.
He blamed it on the U.S. foreign policy and
Israel.
Our support of Israel.
Yeah.
And I said,
take your money back.
No, and I called up 5 widows before I did it.
Good for you.
So it wasn't my money. And they told me, we're with you. We don't want the blood money. We don't want the blood money.
Good luck. I expect an announcement probably soon. We'll see. And I know you will serve your country well. Good to see you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
It's a great honor both to serve my country and it was a great honor to serve Donald Trump and get him elected because we saved this country from going over the abyss.
Well, we're pretty close now. It's
a
big job. All right. Good to see you, Mr. Mayor.